Hey everyone, in this tutorial we are going to talk about how to create a custom control in WPF. Alright, having said that, most likely this is going to be a two-part series. In the first part we are going to create a custom control based on an existing control, and in the second part we'll create a control from scratch. Okay, so let's get going. So to start off, I'm going to, in the search box, create a new project. In the search box here, I'm going to type in custom, the word custom. And as soon as I do that, the first option that pops up is going to be what I need. It says WPF custom control library, C#XAML Windows desktop library. So this is the one we are looking for. There is another one here similar, but that's VB, but we are going to work with this one. Okay, so I'm going to select that and click next. Alright, I'm going to give it a name. So let's call this my custom. Let's go with toggle button, because since we recently worked on toggle button, it may be easier to relate to things. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. So I'm just going to say my cust toggle btn. Okay, and click create. Okay. Oops, got some notification here. Well. Alright, so our project is created for us, and let's see what we have. So we are presented with this class called custom control 1.cs. Typically in a WPF project, you get the XAML designer surface and the XAML file, main window .xaml. But this is not a regular WPF project. This is a class library, right? So we get this, and plus it's a custom control class library. So we have custom control 1.cs, and then let's go to Solution Explorer. We have our properties, we have our references, and we have this themes folder. This is the key. This Generic.xaml file is going to be the file that we are going to be mainly working on. But before we get there, in our custom control 1.cs, this is currently inheriting from control class. So we are going to change this to toggle button, because we are going to inherit, if we want to use the events, all the functionality that comes with the toggle button, we have to inherit from that class. So we're going to type in toggle button, removing the control. So now we got this error. That's because we don't have that namespace. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that namespace in, and that's, I believe it's Windows, System Windows controls primitives. It's the control dot using System Windows controls primitives. Let's click that and bring that namespace in. That should take care of that error right here. Okay, we can get rid of the rest of this stuff, I think. Let's clean that up. Yep. Okay. Again, this comment section is useful information. We'll get back to it later on. So I'm going to go ahead and open my Solution Explorer and double click on the Generic.xaml file and open that file. Once we open this file, sometimes, I think a lot of times you'll have the blue squiggly lines underneath here, and if you see that, just build a solution that should take care of it. Okay, okay. Alright, so this is a resource dictionary. It has a style with a setter property of template, and then we have a setter value here with a control template and a border inside it. Not much. Okay, so basically we have border, background, set to template, binding. I think we covered template binding in my previous tutorials, but if you're new to this, please drop in comment section. Maybe I can cover in the next tutorial when we get into building a custom control from scratch. Or if you have time, I'll maybe retouch on it. Alright, so okay, we have a few properties here for the border. I'm going to go ahead and add a few more. So first of all, actually I want to give this border a name. I'm going to call this simply just B1. And then I'm going to set the width to template binding width. And minimum width, template bind, well actually height, this is going to be height, I'm sorry, height, well we're going to need the width as well, I think. Alright, so let's keep going. This is actually minimum height. I'm confusing myself, I think. Alright, so minimum height, that's going to be template binding as well. Binding minimum height. Let's bring in one with width to width. Template binding width. Okay. Let's see, padding. I'm gonna go to padding of 1. And I'm gonna need a corner radius, but that's going to require a converter. Okay, let's see. Before we get to that part, I want to add another border inside the first border, just like we did with our toggle button. Let's get a name too. I'm gonna call this B2. Let's say background template binding. With this one, this is template binding background. I want the second border to be template binding to foreground, since we can't use the background twice because it's going to be same color for both if we do that. So instead I'm going to bind to the foreground when we use the control. Okay, so not gonna use border brush, border thickness. I don't think I need that. So width. Okay, with width, I want this to be binding. Element name, I'm gonna bind to the height of this element. Okay, instead of width, this width is going to be bound to height. Alright, so path, it's going to be height. Okay, and likewise minimum width, I want this to be binding element name B1, and path is going to be minimum height. Okay, corner radius, it's going to be binding again element name B1, and path is corner radius. Let's see. I think that should be enough for now, but I'm going to add more stuff. So let's expand the tag. Okay. Let's see. Corner radius here. Corner radius, it's like I said, we are going to be using a converter. So basically the idea is I'm going to take the height of this border. Well, where am I? Right. I'm going to take the height and divide it by 2 to get the corner radius. Okay. So I'm going to leave this alone for now, and I'm going to add another class here. So I'm going to click on the project, add new class, and I'm going to call this let's see, height to radius converter. Hit OK, and we got our class. First I'm going to make this public, then I'm going to inherit from iValue converter. If you're new to iValue converter, I have an extensive tutorial covering that. I think 1 or 2 tutorials on iValue converter and multi-value converter. So we're going to inherit and control dot to be using the namespace Windows system Windows data. Control dot again to implement the interface. Okay, so now that we have this, so all I'm going to do here, return, I'm going to cast it to double. I'm going to say value divided by 2. Okay, that's all. All right, and in here I'm going to add a reference to that namespace. So let's actually, I think I'm just gonna say, let's see, let's first build this. Okay, right, build succeeds. Let's bring in, see if I can bring that in height to, there you go. Okay, so local height to radius converter, I'm going to give it a key. Let's call this height to R converter. Okay, that's in place. So we're going to back down here where it says corner radius. So I'm going to say binding source static resource H2R converter. Okay, that's it. And this one is bound to this guy here, so basically the same thing. Okay, so we have our converter, we have we did a lot of work here, and we inherit from the toggle button. Okay, all right, I think I forgot a couple of things. So for the second one, horizontal alignment will be left to start off, and then I'm going to need triggers, right? So border.triggers. So when we click toggle button, we want this to move to the right. Okay, so trigger property, let's see, is checked, right? Okay, so we still have this is checked. Again, that's because we are inheriting from toggle button. Otherwise we wouldn't have this is checked property. Okay, and when this property is true, we want to set the horizontal alignment property, horizontal alignment, and value should be right. Okay, and then I think I'm doing something wrong. This shouldn't be imported. It should be in the control template. Yep. So we're going to cut it from there, paste it here, and change this to control template. That triggers, and that's too many triggers. Okay. All right. I think that's where it should be. Okay, so we got that. And then we want to change the background color of the first border, B1, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So setter property. Well, actually no. First we need the element, target element, right? Target name, actually. So that's B1, and we want the property of background. Sometimes we don't have the IntelliSense, which is fine. And we want to change this to lime. Okay. Perfect. Let's see, did I miss something? I think we should be good. Okay. So now let's build this once. Let's say our control is ready to go, custom control. We're going to look at the instructions here. So the instruction says, let's see, follow steps 1A or 1B and then 2 to use this custom control in a XAML file. So step 1 says 1A, using this custom control in a XAML file that exists in the current project, add this namespace attribute to the root element of the markup file where it is to be used. So if you had a WPF project and this was right in there, we would be using this namespace. Okay. Step 1B says, using this custom control in a XAML file that exists in a different project, add this namespace, XML namespace attribute to the root element. So basically we are going to be using this guy because this is going to be, we are going to use this custom control in a separate project. Okay. And then it says you will also need to add project reference from project where the XAML file lives to this project and rebuild to avoid compilation errors. Okay. And then go ahead, use your control in a XAML, just like this guy. That's going to be how we are going to use the this can change, but this is going to be there. Alright, so let's go ahead and add a new project. This is going to be a WPF project. Okay, so add new project, or we can create a separate instance of Visual Studio and create that way. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna just go from here. It's going to be the same process. You have to find the project and reference it. We'll go through it as we go along. Okay, so we selected this. I'm going to say next. I'm going to say WPF custom controls. and click create. Alright, so I'm gonna flip my panes. Okay, and then adjust these windows. Alright, so first thing we need to do, okay, so the first thing we need to do, I'm going to bring this namespace here, copy it from here, and paste in our main window.xaml. So somewhere here. Okay, I'm gonna change this to, I don't like that it says my namespace. I'm gonna change my my custom toggle, my cust toggle. Okay, it's kind of ambiguous, my namespace, so this makes a little more sense, I think. All right, next thing I want to do, I want to add a reference to that project. So I'm gonna actually let's open this, expand this references folder. As you can see, that's what we have. So I'm gonna add reference. Okay, it's not showing here. This is the stuff I was playing. Okay, projects, my custom toggle button. There you go. So as soon as we select this, since this is really in the same Visual Studio instance, it's kind of easy to find. When you click project, it finds it right away. But if you can't find here, just use browse. If it's in a separate folder, just go find the go to the bin folder, debug folder, and find the DLL, the my custom toggle button.dll file, and that should take care of it. Select it and hit OK. Now we have this reference in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a couple of things here. I'm going to add a let's add 2 columns actually first. We can use first column for this example and the right column to the next example. Okay, so we have 2 columns. In the first column, let's go ahead and add a stack panel. Okay, we got our stack panel in here. So let's go ahead and start using our new custom control. So we're going to say this is the alias, however you spell it. It's the name for the that we assign to our new custom control. So I'm going to say my custom control, and the first option here, I'm going to select that and close this out. See what happens. Nothing. Let's get a background. Let's say light gray or something. And we got nothing. That's because we don't have any height and width, right? So let's get a height of, let's say 50. There you have it. And that's not really what I expected. Let's get a foreground too. Say white. Interesting. Let's see if we are hitting our converter. Where's my converter? There you are. Set a breakpoint here. Let's run this. Oops. We got this error because we didn't select our project as a starting project. So let's set that as startup project. And let's run this again. Okay. And it's not right. Stack panel. What am I missing here? Let's see. Let's change this to a. Let's say dock panel. See if anything changes. Let's run this again. Shouldn't, but click. Same behavior. Okay, let's go back to our Generic.xaml and see what's going on over here. So the width is set to height, which is 50, right? Okay. I think this is our problem. We're not hitting that. We're not hitting the converters, so binding actually should be. I did it wrong. This is not supposed to be this way. So binding height. Oops. Height. Binding path height. What am I doing? Binding element name B1, path height, converter, static resource, H2R converter. Let's see if anything changed. Let's build this again. Nothing seems to change. Let's run this. See if I can hit that converter. Okay, now we hit the breakpoint here. So the value is none. Interesting. Interesting. We're not getting any value. So let's go back here. Height of 50. Yeah, height of 50 in here. Height. Ah, crap. It should have been height. Okay, let's build this again. Alright, now we're talking. Okay, we are hitting our. There you go, we had the 50 here. So it's going to divide that and get the radius out of that. Perfect. Okay. That's not right. So we referenced the wrong thing in here. So in our trigger, background, okay, over here, target name, we didn't set the target name over here. That should be B2. Okay. Let's try this again. Alright, perfect. It's a little too large, but that's fine. Okay, so that's working great. Now, let's try something else. What if I use minimum height here? Let's say 40. And get rid of the height. See what happens. Okay. Minimum height, well, then let's set maximum height too. Okay. See, let's try this again. Alright, so now we got a rectangular toggle button instead of an ellipse. round toggle button, so which is perfect. You got like two options for your control. Okay, so again, this is a class library, so you can share this class library. It's if you go to your project, let's see if I can open the folder. Basically, all you have to do is share this DLL here, my custom toggle button DLL. Okay, or you can import to different projects. So it's a reusable custom control. Okay. I think that's it for now. In the next tutorial, we are going to create a custom control from scratch, something that we don't have in our tools, or it's non-existent, let's say. Okay, so until then, take it easy.